All right, so hi, I'm Bo from Bo Fitness, and this is
Jared from Bodyweight Fitness.
And we're going to be going over a circuit involving the suspension trainer that even your grandma can do. So if you have a door that you can anchor one of these things into that's secure, make sure one of the most important things with suspension trainer is making sure that it's anchored into a safe place. You can see the suspension trainer here. Sometimes you'll see a popular brand is the TRX, but they come in all sorts of different shapes and sizes. They have these little adjustable straps on there so you can adjust your heights up and down to change your exercises up. And we're going to be going through a series of 10 exercises that you can do in a circuit fashion. And a circuit fashion just means you're going to go right from one exercise right to the next, all the way through, take a break at the end. And if you want to go through that circuit again a couple more times, that'll give you a total body workout. So anything to add on that here?
No.
Okay. All right. So first exercise we have is the push-up. So for the push-up, you're really trying to get into a good plank. So he's trying to keep his abs engaged, so he's not arching his lower back. His shoulders are down away from the ears, and you can see he's lowering to what feels like a good challenging depth, and then pushing away. And if you bring those hands a little close together, you get a little arc in the front. That's okay too. And notice he's really making sure he's not letting his hips drop forward. Now with the push-up, if you find that you really struggle with this one, remember it's easy to adjust how difficult or easy it is just by moving your feet a little farther forward. So find a spot that works good for you. Remember that if you ever felt like you were falling with the TRX, you can just take a big step forward, right, and catch yourself, right? So if you're there, you just take a step forward and catch yourself. So we're gonna try to get, maybe 7 to 15 reps-ish with your push-ups. Try to get as many as you can. And then we're gonna go ahead and move right on into the next exercise. The next one we have is a body weight squat. This is it's assisted squat. So the nice thing with this one is you have those straps to help keep your back nice and straight, so we're not having a whole lot of hinging forward. You're keeping the weight back on your heels, but make sure those toes are also digging into the ground. As you're going back, your chest is up, shoulders are back. You're really trying not to round forward or to lean too far forward. If you also look at the position of his knee, we're trying not to have the knees shoot way out over the toes. See that there where his heels kind of came up off the ground? We want to watch out for that. And we're working on that range of motion through the hip. So really trying to get down as deep as you're able. If you're first starting and you're having some issues with depth, practice. Go maybe here, right? And using those straps a little bit more. Use those arms to kind of help pull yourself up a little bit. But the goal here is to, rather than just adding on reps, is to really try to work on increasing that mobility and increasing that depth. All right, we're going to move on to the row. So for the row, you're going to kind of lay back. You want to have a nice straight line through here. Your feet, notice how he has his toes off the ground here. Big thing is when he comes up to 90 degrees or so, he's not letting those straps get loose and slack. See how it would be hard to do that if he's up on his heels. So the strap stays nice and tight. Chest is high. He's squeezing those shoulder blades together on the upward pull here. So it's almost think like you're trying to pinch a grape right between your shoulder blades here. Slow on the way down and fast on the way up. As far as breathing, as you pull yourself up, you're going to exhale. And as he lowers himself down, you're going to take a breath in. I think that's good for the row. Let's move on to number 4 is we have a plank. So now we're going to get our core involved here a little bit as well. Now, we're going to show you this kind of a basic plank, but then also a little bit more of an advanced version. So you remember that push-up we did earlier? That was a plank. So we're working our abs there as well. So he's really pulling the belly button toward the spine, not allowing those hips to drop forward. See, that's what we want to try to avoid right there. Nice straight line, squeezing those abs. Now, the further back his feet are, or the longer those straps, the closer he is to the floor, the harder that plank. So one way to make the plank harder is by simply adjusting your hand or foot position. But another way we can make this more advanced as well as get a little bit more of the muscles in our upper shoulders and back involved and chest is that overhead, we sometimes call it the Superman. With hand position, don't go overly wide and not so overly narrow. You can see the straps are about in line with the shoulders. Now as he goes overhead, the further overhead you go, the more the core is challenged. You don't necessarily just have to hold the position. You see how he's kind of doing repetitions there? You can kind of work through that mobility through the shoulder. And go slow. Maybe you might go an inch or two at first and then back down and just kind of experiment to find a range that feels safe but challenging for you. All right, next we're moving on to the rear delt. exercise. So for this, we're working the rear part of the shoulder, sometimes called a reverse fly. And what we're doing here is trying to open. So as you open the arms with that strap there, we're keeping the arms in a line with the strap itself. So we notice his hands aren't way up above his head. They're not way down by his hips, but they're keeping them right about the same height as the shoulder. Now, right here you can see he has a staggered stance with his feet. You can also do feet together, make it a little bit more challenging. You can notice at the top, because those toes are off the ground, he's keeping all that tension in his arms. Now, as far as difficulty with this one, remember again, if you need to make the exercise easier, just work back a little bit so you're a little bit more vertical. And you can also use that rear foot here, you see, to kind of help push yourself forward a little bit. So after the rear delt, we have the pull-up. Now for the pull-up, this is very similar to the row, and what we do is we just simply adjust our straps a bit higher so that we can kind of almost sort of get into a sit-down position underneath. And this also, by the way, can be really helpful for those of you who are working on your squats and need a little more help. So if you're finding the leaning back, here you can see you can really be right underneath. Those arms are overhead. And what he's really trying to do is to pull so he can see if he can get his chin over his knuckles. Now he's coming right underneath the straps rather than leaning back. So remember, we're not trying to do a row here, but more like a pull-up. But notice he's using those legs to help get himself up and down for that pull-up. And this is a great kind of total body exercise because now you got both your legs working and your arms. At the bottom, he's getting full extension, but trying not to let that shoulder round forward, right? So he's trying to keep those shoulders packed, squeezing back again, trying to squeeze that grate between the shoulder blades there. All right, after our pull-up, we're moving on to bicep curls. And you can see how quickly he's able to kind of adjust those straps, right, and move right on into the next exercise. So for the bicep curls, we're going with a palms up grip here. And you can see how as he's curling his palms toward his head there, he's keeping those elbows forward in line with his wrists, right? So he's not flaring the elbows way out to the side, but kind of squeezing together. Now at the same time, trying not to have a whole lot of round. You see how that back is nice and flat right here? So we're trying not to round the shoulders forward as you do that curl. And you're curling kind of high. Notice he's not curling to his chest down in here, but curling up toward the forehead, like there. All right, bicep curls into the reverse lunge. So now we have another leg exercise, lower body exercise. So he's going to do a little tap back there. And notice on his rear foot, he's on more of his forefoot, not letting the heel make much contact on the rear. On the front foot, keeping the weight, particularly in the heel. Make sure your knee on that front foot is not shooting over the top. And you really want to make sure on this exercise that you adjust your range of motion based upon what's challenging for you. You might find that you go right into a shallow lunge to begin with, but over time as your legs get stronger, you may be able to increase that range of motion a bit. All right, 2 to go, real quick. Last 2 here. Number 9 is the Palloff press. And this is another core stability exercise. So you see he's got his feet about shoulder width apart and shoulders back and packed. He's going to extend. Now, it looks like he's not doing a whole lot here, but you got to think pulling the belly button in. He's pushing the strap away. So you see how the strap is nice and tight in and out with that extension. So he's really getting that core. Yeah, no loose strap here at all, but real tight through that whole movement. And as he's squeezing forward and back, he's keeping those shoulders packed, working those anti-rotation muscles in the core. Is also squeezing the glutes, so you're kind of squeezing those butt cheeks, but without letting your back arch forward. You want to make sure on this one you get both sides. So he's going to turn around and then do the same thing on the other side. All right, last exercise here we have is the tricep extension. So for the tricep extension, we're going to grab with the palms facing forward grip. And just like the bicep curl, we're going to get those elbows to the inside. And just like the bicep curl, it's going to be extending above the head. So you see how his hands are coming above his head here. Remember, you're in a plank again. So we don't want to have those hips dropping forward and putting pressure on the lower back, but you're engaging your core, extending in a nice straight line above the head and then out to the front till the arms are fully extended. Elbows kind of squeezing in that whole time. Remember again, if you need to make the exercise easier, adjust your forward and back or the length of your straps. So that is our 10 exercise circuit. Like I said, go through this 2 to 3 times and hope you found that video helpful.